Discover 3 sinister and spine-chilling true horror stories from cursed beach houses revealed. Kelly never thought she'd escape her tumultuous life, let alone flee to a charming seaside home. But here she was, standing under the glaring sun with salty air filling her lungs, unpacking boxes with her 2 young children, Caleb and Lily. The waves crashed against the shore, and the laughter of children played like music around them, an illusion of safety. But even as the warm sun hugged her, an unsettling chill crawled up her spine. The house creaked eerily with every shift of the boxes, whispering secrets she hoped wouldn't involve her at first. She brushed it off as normal settling noises. But then came the whispers. They drifted through the air, soft yet haunting, like the laughter of children that melded unnervingly with the roar of the ocean. Every night, her heart raced as the sun dipped below the horizon, blanketing the world in shadows. The whispers pulled at her nerves, and she couldn't ignore them. Ghosts, merely figments of her imagination? But after a few evenings, the whispers turned into a dreadful melody that left her in cold sweats. One night, with the last slivers of sunlight retreating, Lily tugged at her hand, her big eyes shimmering with excitement. "Mommy, can we go to the beach?" Kelly hesitated. The earlier warnings echoed in her mind. But she couldn't deny her daughter, not after everything. "All right," she sighed, forcing a smile. As they strolled along the shore, a group of local children approached, their faces pale like death. They whispered of the ghosts that roamed the beach at night. Kelly chuckled nervously, waving away their mumblings. The easygoing facade of the town was beginning to crack, and she didn't like where it was headed. But she needed to stay strong for her kids. But moments of calm shattered quickly. That night, she woke to find Caleb sleepwalking outside, moving like a marionette, his limbs stiff, his eyes glassy. "Caleb!" she shouted, her heart racing as she pulled him back. His gaze shifted to the beach, as if something invisible beckoned him closer. Lily's laughter echoed in her mind as she recounted her friends at the shore, children only she could see. Panic gripped her heart. Was she losing them to something sinister? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The next day, her desperation had her rushing to the town's historical society. The curator, with a welcoming smile that felt far too tight, revealed the dark past of the beach houses built on the remnants of disappearances. The unsettling warmth of the town dissolved like morning mist before the sun. An invisible weight pressed on her chest as she pieced together the grim narrative. Townies lingered too long, their smiles too wide. Something was off, and the facade of seaside charm was unraveling before her wide eyes. Late that night, a crash jolted her from sleep. Glass shattered, and her children stood enraptured by a glowing light from the beach. Terror pulsed through her. "No," she shouted, grabbing their hands, yanking them back. But the whispers slipped into her ears, the night air heavy with a call that pulled her closer to the darkness. As fear coursed through her veins, she knew it wasn't just her past haunting her anymore. Something ancient, something potent, lurked beneath the waves. In that moment, she grasped the chilling truth: her new beginnings were tied to an undercurrent of shadows. The beach wasn't just their refuge. It was a predator weaving its noose, and she felt her heart pounding as dawn approached. What lay buried beneath the sand? Why did her children long for it so desperately? The waves continued their eerie crash, foreshadowing a fate she never saw coming. Kelly awoke the next day, her eyes heavy and restless. Shadows hugged the corners of her home like unwanted guests, and the sea's roar seeped into her marrow. The sun had risen, yet she felt trapped in twilight, each creak of the house a reminder that something was wrong. She tried to shake off the vestiges of fear, but memories of the children's faces, lost in that glowing light, haunted her every thought. That morning, she took them to the beach, determined to reclaim some semblance of normalcy. The sun sparkled across the water's surface, making it look almost inviting. The air smelled of salt and seaweed, but the echoes of laughter from unseen children danced just out of reach of her senses. "Stay close," she warned, her voice trembling slightly. Caleb and Lily scampered off toward the shore, their giggles echoing, yet somehow sounding hollow. As they played, the whispers returned, swirling around her like a dense fog. Annoyed, she clamped a hand over her ears, gritting her teeth against the maddening sound. "It's just the wind," she muttered. But deep down, she knew the truth. The whispers seemed to lead her to a distant spot where a jagged rock jutted out of the sediment. Intrigued, Kelly felt an almost magnetic pull towards it, as if the earth itself was calling her. She hesitated. It could be a trap. Something primal flickered in the depths of her mind, an echo of survival instincts. Before she could ponder more, Caleb called out to her. "Look, Mommy." He stood beside a peculiar shell, sparkling and smooth, glinting like a piece of treasure in the sand. The sight sent a strange thrill through her, yet a warning shot of dread flared in her gut at the memory of the curator's stories. "Caleb, come back here, that might not be safe," she said, but her words fell to the ground like leaves, unheard. Curiosity clawed at her, but then Lily squealed. "Look, the kids want to play with us." She pointed towards the surf, but as Kelly turned, her heart plummeted. The children standing near the water were pale and hauntingly beautiful, their hair billowing as if underwater, their eyes wide and glassy. "Lily, no!" Kelly shouted, lunging forward. But the child slipped from her grasp, running towards the playground of specters now beckoning to her children like sirens of the sea. Panic gripped Kelly as she chased after them, the whispers sharpening into sinister laughter that echoed in her ears, promising secrets and sacrifice. "Caleb! Lily!" she screamed, choking on desperation. Suddenly, the air turned icy, and the waves crashed harder, the beach transforming from serene to menacing. The sun burned white-hot overhead, casting elongated shadows that danced across the sand. It felt like the ground trembled beneath her, as if the ocean itself was awakening. She lunged, grasping Caleb's arm just before he reached the edge of the water. But Lily was still darting forward, her small form silhouetted against the darkening sea. Kelly gasped as she finally saw a shadow emerging from the depths, looming larger and darker than before, reaching for her daughter with a grasping hand that glimmered with scales. In that moment, Kelly understood the beach didn't just want her children. It needed them. With horror consuming her, she realized they could be next. The shadows roared with life, and the ominous whispers tightened their grip, unraveling every shred of courage she had left. As Kelly pulled Caleb to safety, the darkness swallowed Lily's laughter, leaving only silence that weighed heavily as the tides raged. What would she do? How far would she go to protect them from this nightmare? The waves continued their ominous dance as reality faded further away, and from below, the whispering chorus grew, beckoning, promising. But to what end? The tide was turning, and it was coming for them all. Kelly's breath came in quick, ragged gasps as she pulled Caleb close, her heart racing. The sight of the dark water creeping toward Lily felt like a lifetime of dread collapsing into a single moment. Waves crashed violently, a cacophony drowning the last of her hope. "Lily!" she screamed again, darting toward her daughter, fear barking at her heels. The pale, otherworldly children giggled, weaving through the surf, their laughter echoing against the growing roar of the sea. Each sound twisted in Kelly's ears like a dagger. It was clear the shoreline was alive with malice. She risked glancing back at Caleb, who clutched her leg tightly, eyes wide and flickering with fear and expression she was all too familiar with now. "Stay here," she yelled, turning back. Every instinct told her she needed to reach Lily before it was too late. But as she neared the water's edge, the air thickened, and the whispers intensified, gnawing at her mind. Join us," they sang, the words sweet, yet sickening as if she were teetering on the brink of madness. Digging her feet into the sand, she called out, "Lily, come back. They're not your friends." The wind picked up violently, pulling at her clothes, threatening to sweep her away. But then her gaze locked onto Lily. The child was mesmerized, swirling amidst the surf, her arms reaching for the spectral figures that danced just beyond. The promise of those pale faces felt like chains, unseen yet inescapable. Kelly lunged through the freezing water, shockwaves shooting up her legs as each subsequent step felt heavier. Lily. She felt the weight of desperation coat her throat as she clawed forward, the salty tide brushing against her skin like a warning. The whispers pierced her resolve, urging her to give in. Suddenly, she was in too deep. The water surged to her waist, dragging against her legs, and she stumbled. In that moment of vulnerability, a frightful wave crashed nearby, sending salt water spraying across her face. It muffled the screams that rose from within her. "Mommy, help!" Lily wailed, her outstretched hand wavering. The pale children surged forward, their motions sharp and predatory. Kelly felt a rush of adrenaline as she surged closer, the shore fading into a distant memory. "Hold on, I'm coming," she cried, plunging toward her daughter. But just as she reached out, the spectral figures coiled around Lily, pulling her farther into the depths. Kelly's outstretched fingers missed their mark. Heart racing, dread blooming in her chest, she fought against the roaring sea, feeling the cold claws of panic grip her like a vice. "No, you can't take her. Let her go." Her voice broke with anguish, drowning in the breaking waves. And then a tremor. The ground beneath her shifted as something ominous roiled beneath the surface, an unseen force rising, twisting the very fabric of reality. Everything froze for a heartbeat, the laughter fading into an unnatural quiet as the world felt poised on the edge of catastrophe. From the depths, the shadow lunged, shadowy tendrils reaching beyond the water's surface, slithering toward her, glistening like black glass. In that terror-soaked instant, Kelly's mind screamed for escape, for her children's safety. But as the grip of the water tightened around her, another realization slapped her like a cold wave. If she reached for Lily now, would she lose herself too? She hesitated, horrified, every instinct urging to save her child at any cost. But what if that cost was far greater than she could imagine? The tide churned, dark and pulsating, waiting. Reality blurred, and darker possibilities twisted around her mind, echoing the whispers. Was saving Lily truly an option? The nightmarish laughter returned. It was intoxicating and terrifying. She could feel the beach consuming her, drawing her into its embrace. What needed to be done? How much was she willing to sacrifice? The water continued its relentless dance, but she stood frozen, just as it seemed she would face the ultimate horror, a choice that would seal their fate forever. And in that moment of dread, she finally understood the true nightmare was just beginning. Kelly stood in the icy grip of the water, heart pounding against her ribcage like a frantic drum, each beat echoing with regret and fear. The waves crashed, relentless, a muted backdrop to the swirling chaos around her. Lily's terrified cries faded, replaced by that low, melodic whisper, echoing in her skull. Join us, tendrils of darkness writhed beneath the surface, their slickness slicker than oil, glistening like a parasite hungry for a host. One brushed against her ankle, cold and clammy, sending her heart into a panic-driven race. She gasped, eyes wide as she fought against the urge to cower. Was it a warning or a beckoning? "Lily!" she screamed, voice cracking, desperation spilling out like the tide pulling at her legs. She had to push forward. Caleb's small form collapsed at the edge of the shore, fear etched across his face, his words lost in choking sobs. She couldn't let him see her falter. Not now. Every instinct screamed to turn back, to return to safety, to take Caleb and run. But how could she abandon Lily? The cold water sloshed higher, now past her waist, gnawing at her resolve. "I won't leave you. I swear." She choked, each breath filled with the salty tang of despair. The shadow lurked beneath her, waiting, watching. She could almost feel the creature's eyes boring into her, daring her to move closer. Did it want her? Or was it seducing her into the abyss, promising freedom from her fears just beyond the grip of the tide? Suddenly, she saw a flash of pale skin as Lily twirled deeper into the darkness. The spectral children laughed, their haunting giggles threading through the air, weaving doubt into Kelly's heart. "They're just playing," she thought, grasping for sanity. But those weren't children anymore. They were empty echoes trapped in a sinister dance. "Hurry up," the whispers urged, wrapping around her thoughts like sinuous vines. Kelly felt her grip on reality loosen. What if she dove in? What if she transformed into one of those pale figures, freed from all pain and responsibility? The thought sent a chill through her bones. No, that was a lie. With every ounce of will, she forced herself forward, the depth clawing at her. "I choose you," she shouted, which surprised even herself. It was a defiant declaration against the malevolence surrounding her. The truth screamed at her. She loved Lily, and no darkness would take her. A new wave crashed around her, as if the sea itself reacted to her determination. And then, in a moment of clarity, she felt the tug of something larger than herself. An immense, overwhelming presence that linked her to Lily, an echo of their bond reverberating through the depths. "Mommy!" Lily's voice splintered the silence, and clarity broke through the chaos. Kelly plunged deeper, strength pouring into her limbs with each determined stroke. All the while, shadows swarmed, reaching, twisting, but she pushed them away. One last push, and then she saw Lily, adoringly innocent yet ensnared. Her daughter was engulfed in the tendrils, wide eyes full of terror and confusion. The pale figures had formed a circle around her, chanting their horrid refrain, and for one blinding second, Kelly thought they might relent, that there was still hope, but the moment shattered. The wind howled, an angry wail intensifying the crescendo of darkness. In that second, reality trembled again. The sea roared, and gravity shifted. Tendrils whipped about, capturing Kelly's heart, yanked back by their ceaseless hunger. She was losing herself. Determination surged through Kelly. "I will not abandon you." The words erupted from her throat, laced with raw power. She reached into the darkness, speaking her truth with every ounce of love, her fingers brushing against those thin, cold tendrils. The air crackled. Time seemed to stand still. Would it respond? Would it recognize the bond they shared, that was worth more than shadows? In that moment, doubt turned into a jagged blade ripping through her resolve. What if she could save Lily, but lose everything else? What would remain of her if she submerged into that darkness, and what would she become? A choice, she thought, fear freezing her in place. The shadows closed in, and then the laughter twisted, sharper now, tinged with hunger, as if they heard her, as if they knew and were ready for whatever she would decide. Would she surrender to the shadows, or fight with everything she had? As the light dimmed around her, engulfed by night, she gasped for breath, and the darkness whispered her name. "What will you choose? The shadows or the light?" She had to decide, and the haunting truth loomed larger than the waves crashing above, chilling her to her core. The chill of the water surged around Kelly, swallowing her with every frantic heartbeat. The tendrils writhed closer, pulsing in time with her dread. "I will not abandon you," she shouted again, voice cracking like a branch underfoot. The relentless whispers twisted around her, mingling with the sound of their laughter, sickly sweet and dripping with malice. Mommy Lily's voice, a mere wisp now, echoed in Kelly's mind. It pulled her deeper, laying a blanket of ice over her resolve. Each moment felt stretched thin, like a rubber band ready to snap. The cold seeped into her bones while the figures dancing just beyond the veil laughed louder, their joy a poison that tainted her thoughts. "Lily," Kelly gasped, desperation clawing at her throat. She couldn't let the shadows take her. She couldn't. No, not her baby. Suddenly, a surge of power rushed through her, an urge so strong it made the air feel electric. It was as if the sea itself answered her call. The darkness shrieked, thrown off balance by her defiance. Kelly surged forward, arms flailing through suffocating water, each stroke pushing against the gnawing dread. The pale figures stopped their dance. For an instant, all was still. But then, as if the very depths of the ocean conspired against her, the waves rose again, clawing at her as if they had a mind of their own. She felt them lurch beneath her, ready to drag her under. Frantically, she reached for Lily, and then she saw them, those gaunt faces twisting in shadow, impossible eyes locking onto hers. "Join us," they breathed, a chorus of echoes that resonated deep inside her. "We can share the eternal joy." Joy. The word turned cold and sour in her stomach. What kind of joy came from torment? But she could see now, they were once children like Lily. Familiar innocence long lost. Their skin was paper white, begging for salvation that only they had found. Kelly's heart ached for them, but anger flared. She would not be seduced. She had a daughter to save. Get away from her. Kelly hissed, each word laced with fury. She clawed at the water, each stroke fueled by love and resolve. Tendrils reached out, aiming to ensnare her, but she swatted them away. Desperation surged anew as she closed the distance to Lily. In that moment, she grasped her daughter's hands, fingers feeling so small, yet so vital against her own. "I'm right here. Grasp me," Kelly cried, squeezing tightly. Lily's eyes blinked wide open, and something shifted. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in protest. "No, she belongs to us," they wailed, a thundering roar that echoed off the cliffs. The sea began crashing around them, waves turning into vicious hands, thrashing at her limbs. Frantically, Kelly began to pull Lily toward the surface. The closeness of that darkness gnawed at Kelly's resolve. It wanted her to let go, just for a moment, to just briefly surrender. The pain of that temptation coiled around her heart, a vice threatening to snap her spirit. "Mommy, I can't breathe," Lily gasped. The fear in Lily's voice ignited an ember of fury in Kelly's chest. "No, you will live. We will escape together." She strained against the current, muscles screaming with exertion. Just a little further. Just a little further. Unbeknownst to her, the shadows were preparing their retaliation. The tendrils coiled tighter, squeezing. Kelly could feel the chill invading her mind where dark thoughts lurked, promising freedom from pain, from heartache. It whispered sweet nothing songs of despair that filled her with dread. Suddenly, a wave like a mountain crashed down upon them, pulling Kelly under, wrapping her tightly. She twisted and turned, chaos spinning around her. Bubbles burst at her face, and Lily's hands slipped from her grasp. "No," she gasped. A scream erupted from her throat, a raw, primal sound that echoed in the depths. Just then, a fleeting revelation struck her. The bond between mother and child was stronger than any darkness. It couldn't just be about survival. It was about defeating the shadows, reclaiming the lost souls, and saving others from succumbing to despair. But as the darkness closed in with a chilling laugh, would she find the strength to face the void, or was it too late? The water swirled around her, and the dark shapes began to merge into one grotesque form, an embodiment of every fear, every nightmare. "Choose wisely," Kelly the shadows taunted, their laughter ringing soundlessly in her ears, "for in this moment, the truth will be revealed, and you may be left with nothing." What truth awaited her in the depths of that abyss? And would she be prepared to face it? The darkness enveloped Kelly, swallowing her cries as she twisted in the icy grip of the ocean. The shadows pulsed with delight, a rhythm matching the rapid thud of her heart. The air burned in her lungs, but there was no more time, no more air, and the realization squeezed harder than the tendrils around her body. "Lily, hold on, baby," she gasped, desperation fueling her like a rocket, pushing against the weight of despair. Suddenly, a familiar spark ignited within her love. It flared like a beacon, outshining the abyss, threatening to take her down. Without thinking, Kelly closed her eyes and concentrated on their bond. The warmth of each moment they had together, every giggle, every hug, all the time she had held Lily and read her stories. Those memories surged through her, transforming the darkness into something tangible, something to fight against. The tendrils recoiled, shrieking in displeasure. "You can't. It's futile," they chanted, their voices layered, like a deep echo racing around her mind. But as the shadows waned, Kelly felt a sense of clarity washing over her. She couldn't give in to the fear. She couldn't surrender to the void. With a primal roar, she surged upward, forcing the dark water from her lungs. She lunged with outstretched hands, feeling the familiar tension of Lily's grip. As their fingers interlocked once more, a jolt of energy coursed through her, electrifying and fierce. "I've got you," she shouted, pulling with every ounce of her being. The surface shimmered above them, a distant glimmer that promised hope. But rising meant navigating currents that seemed eager to drag them deeper still. The laughter of the shadows mixed with the crashing waves, unsettling and cold, but Kelly pushed back against the relentless tide with her love for Lily. "Together," she yelled, parting the water as they surged toward the light, the shadows swirling angrily around them. Yet, something unexpected began to crash against Kelly's resolve. Memories of her own childhood, distorted and dark, flooded her mind. Faces twisted in torment rose in the depths of her memory, twisted reflections of pain and joy intermingled. Her own fears clawed at her thoughts, threatening to suffocate the light of hope. "Hurry," Lily cried, her voice trembling. "Mommy, I don't want to go back." Those words struck her with a pang of realization. It wasn't just her life at stake. The shadows sought to snuff out Lily's spark, to pull her down into despair. Every ounce of Kelly's love twisted with a new determination, the thought of leaving her daughter behind layered with guilt. "No, I won't let them take you, not now." Kelly screamed as she felt another wave rise beneath them. It was immense, a monster rising from the depths, growing larger with every second. Fingers gripping Lily's tightly, she drove upward, striking out against the powerful pull of the abyss. Churning water battered their bodies. The evil that stirred below loomed, darkness whispering promises of escape if only they'd embrace it. "Just let go," the shadows crooned, their voices a haunting lullaby. "You'll find peace in the depths." But just then, as her body felt ready to snap, Kelly reached within herself. She summoned the strength of every mother, every survivor who had ever fought against the darkness threatening to consume them. "No," she roared defiantly, the word echoing like thunder, resonating through the dark waters. A blinding light burst forth from her heart, illuminating the swirling shadows, revealing their wretched forms. They winced, shrieking in agony, their defeat palpable as they began to dissipate. The shiny surface above them beckoned like a promised paradise, but time was running out, and as they pushed higher, she could sense another wave building, preparing to crash over them one last time. Would they make it? Would courage alter their destiny, or were they still destined to struggle with the shadows? Just as the abyss thundered anew, a piercing scream erupted from the darkness, sending tendrils writhing back. But in its wake, a different kind of presence appeared, something both menacing and familiar. "Mommy, look!" Lily shouted, pointing towards the darkness. A figure emerged, a long-lost face bearing the weight of sorrow. "Your choice is coming," Kelly the figure whispered, locking eyes with her. "Who are you?" Kelly shouted, fighting the tide. But the shadows were gathering again, their laughter returning with a vengeance. What would Kelly uncover about the being emerging from the darkness? What choices would she face? And what would happen now that it was no longer just about survival? Would she claim her daughter before the void consumed everything? The battle was just beginning. The figure unfolded from the shadows, revealing a face Kelly thought she'd buried deep within her memory. It was her mother, eyes wide and glassy, mouth twisting into a sad smile. "Help us, please," the specter pleaded, her voice barely a whisper, carried away by the writhing dark. "You have the strength to end this." Kelly's heart lurched. "Mom, I thought there's no time." Her mother's expression darkened as a ripple of shadows encroached, a sneer forming on her lips. "You must choose. Save her or Mom, no?" Kelly interjected, steel creeping back into her voice. The waters churned around them, and she felt Lily trembling beside her, the weight of the decision crashing down like a wave threatening to crush them. "Join me, Kelly," the apparition urged, its tone changing, becoming melodic yet sinister. It was the voice of despair. The shadows around her glowed with malice, drawing closer, waiting for her to falter. "It can all end. You can find peace in the depths." "Mommy, please," Lily cried, the desperation in her voice cutting through the suffocating darkness. "Don't listen to her." Kelly's grip tightened around Lily's hand. The flicker of strength she felt, where had it gone? Dread hung in the air, so thick she could taste it. But as the spectral figure loomed larger, she felt a rush of memories surge again. The warm hugs, the bedtime stories, the first day of school. "No," Kelly howled, but the shadows were closing in fast, drowning her defiance in a flood of fear. Each second felt like a lifetime, the choice knocking against her skull, relentless. "Let the tide take you," Kelly, her mother's voice, twisted and power-drunk, sang through the dark waters. "It's what I did. It's what you truly want, freedom from pain." Kelly's breaths came hard and fast, panic clawing at her throat. "No," she screamed again, her voice echoing in the abyss. "I'm not giving up. Lily is my world." With every ounce of her will, she gathered all of her love for her daughter, every fiber of her being screaming against the dark. She felt it channel through her, rising like molten lava ready to burst. The shadows recoiled, their laughter shrill and frantic as her resolve began to crystallize. You think you can escape the past? Her mother-esque specter hissed, the smile twisting to a snarl. You will never escape it. But Kelly was done listening. I make my own path, she yelled, the light inside her igniting with a fierce brightness, shooting through the water like a beacon. Shimmering against the encroaching shadows, pulses of warmth flowed into the icy depth surrounding them. Around her, the darkness exploded in a flurry of wailing echoes. The tendrils twisted, recoiling as her blast rippled through them. The light grew, illuminating the space, revealing hundreds of faces trapped behind the smoky veil, expressions of hopelessness and despair. Lily gasped beside her, eyes wide, pupils dilating in shock. Mommy, she whispered, trembling but hanging on to the warmth Kelly sent her way. But just as their escape seemed possible, a low growl erupted from the depths. A massive wave loomed, poised to crash over them with an intensity they'd never felt before. In that moment of terror, the figure of Kelly's mother reformed, shifting like smoke snaking through the water. You can't win, it thundered, voice now a deep guttural echo. You will always be mine. The final choice hung in the air like a storm. Would they be swept away and suffocated by the darkness closing in for good? Or would they conquer the pain and reach for the light? Even when everything felt like it was slipping away, Kelly faced the tide, resolve coursing through her veins. This was only the beginning, and the battle for Lily's life and her own was far from over. Lily, hold on, she cried, as the monstrous wave crashed upon them, the fury of darkness and despair mixing with flickers of light. What awaited them when the waters calmed? Would they be free, or forever trapped in the suffocating grip of the abyss? The choice was in the shadows, and the outcome uncertain. The wave crashed down, a monstrous wall of shadow and despair that swallowed them whole. Kelly felt the chill penetrate her skin, an endless freezing grasp that clung to her bones and dragged her into an abyss so dark it devoured every thought, every scream. As they sank, the light flickered like a dying star, sparking with urgency. Kelly's heart raced as the weight of the water pressed down, a phantom pressure claiming her breath. Lily's hand slipped slightly from hers, a tremor of panic jolting through Kelly. Lily, she shouted, her voice barely a whisper within the roar of chaos. Then, in the suffocating dark, something grasped her wrist, cold, familiar. Kelly twisted, only to meet her mother's ghost, face twisted in a grin that bordered on mania. You can't escape, sweet girl. I'm here for you, she purred, her voice a dangerous lullaby. Let me guide you. No, Kelly screamed, fighting against the grip, each word a burst of defiance. The shadows twisted around them as if responding to her cries, growing violently turbulent. You're not real. Let her go? A chuckle reverberated through the water, a cruel sound. I am all that remains of your past, and you'll always remain mine. You made your choice long ago. Suddenly, everything changed. The depths began to shift, dragging the two of them downward at a dizzying speed. Kelly felt a mix of fear and determination surge within her. I choose her, she shouted. Not you. In a wild, frantic motion, she reached for the light that still flickered within her. With each heartbeat, that warmth surged against the darkness, a quiet ember refusing to die. She could almost feel Lily, somewhere close, her presence urging her on. The currents twisted and wrapped around them, but the light grew stronger, illuminating faces all around, echoing the memories of people long lost. Fight, whispered a voice, barely audible. But it wasn't just a voice. It was a chorus of souls, trapped and yearning for release. If responding to their collective will, the shadows retreated, revealing a path bubbling with luminous colors. Hope ignited in Kelly's chest. Lily, she shouted again, her voice louder and clearer as she maneuvered through the watery chaos. Above her, she glimpsed the surface breaking in a violent dance of light, blue and shimmering. But the hold of the darkness was too strong. It lashed out, tendrils reaching for her, seeking to pull her back into the void with desperate ferocity. Kelly struggled, heart pounding against the cold clamp of despair. Stay with me, Lily. Just as she felt herself slipping toward the frame of despair, she turned to see Lily's frightened eyes, a reflection of her own fear, and her resolve hardened like steel. Together, she screamed, her voice ringing out, filled with a courage she didn't know she had. Drawing upon every ounce of love and strength, she pulled Lily into a fierce embrace, the bond of mother and daughter fortifying their fight. They surged together toward the light, a single beam weaving through the chaos. But as they broke through the surface, gasping for air, shadows still lingered, flickering at the edges of their vision. They were not alone, not yet free. Then came a roar behind them, a sound that shook the very foundation of their victory. "You think you can escape me?" The voice of Kelly's mother echoed, stretching into a shriek that resonated through the abyss, trailing them even as sunlight spilled over their faces. What legend lurked in the shadows they had just escaped? Would it follow them to the land of the living? Would they ever be truly free from the specter of the past? As a new dawn broke overhead, their fight was far from over. Fragments of the abyss surrounded them still, and not all hope lay in light. In the distance, darkness stirred once more, whispering promises of revenge. With dread creeping back into her heart, Kelly knew this was only the beginning. Kelly gasped, the salty air filling her lungs as they broke through the surface, sunlight illuminating their escape. But victory felt bitter, tinged with uncertainty. She could still feel her mother's haunting presence, an echo of what was once perceived as safety now warped into something malevolent. "Look!" Lily cried, pointing. The shoreline drew closer, but shadows twisted along the edges, woven into the dunes like dark threads in sunlight. The cheerful curls of ocean waves whispered a warning. The air reeked of decay, the scent slithering into their throats, pulling them back toward the depths they had just escaped. "Do you feel it?" Kelly murmured, feeling the uneasy tremor in her core. The momentary peace of the beach seemed unreal, like a fragile bubble about to burst. Lily glanced around, her wide eyes reflecting fear. "It's just the wind," she trailed off, uncertain. But Kelly knew better. The wind had turned into a low, growling breath, whispering their names, taunting them. They staggered onto the sand, the grains hot and biting beneath their feet. With every step, the shadows lengthened behind them, like relentless pursuers refusing to be left behind. "Let us go home," Kelly urged, gripping Lily's hand tightly. They moved with urgency, their hearts pounding a frantic rhythm, echoing the harsh reality crashing against their lungs. As they reached the path leading away from the beach, a feeling surged in Kelly's gut. It was a pull, magnetic and sinister. She hesitated, glancing back. The shoreline shimmered, flickering with otherworldly beauty, but it was wrong. Something writhed just beneath the surface, dark and hidden. "Please, Kelly, don't look," Lily begged, tugging at her arm. But she couldn't help it. As if in a trance, she turned, eyes drawn to a figure emerging from the waves. It was a silhouette at first, then grew clearer, revealing the twisted features of the thing that once bore her mother's face. Water streamed off her like black silk, but her smile held no warmth, only an insatiable hunger. "You left me," it shrieked, the voice warping into a high-pitched wail that echoed in the hollow of Kelly's chest. "You tried to escape, threw away our bond, but I'm still here. And I've brought friends from the depths." Other shapes surfaced, grotesque forms that laughed with mouths full of jagged teeth, humanity twisted into something unrecognizable. "Run," Kelly shouted, pulling Lily back. The darkness lunged toward them, the shadows spilling from the beach like an angry tide. They stumbled back up the path, but the shadows chased them. They felt cold fingers brushing against their heels. With each step, dread coiled tighter around their hearts, squeezing until it hurt to breathe. "Where do we go?" Lily shouted, desperation lacing her voice. "Anywhere but here," Kelly cried, glancing back to see her mother's ghost gaining ground, the others closing in like a pack hunting its prey. The weight of their fear pressed down like a punishing storm. Ahead, the trees loomed, dark and twisted, their gnarled branches stretching out like claws. Was there refuge among them, or would they spiral deeper into the darkness? "Kelly!" Lily's panicked scream yanked her back. Glancing toward her, Kelly saw the shadows had found them, wrapping around Lily's ankles, pulling her down. Kelly's heart raced as she lunged towards her daughter, but the shadows thickened, groaning with glee at her struggle. "You can't save her," the voice echoed, chilling her blood. "She's mine." Not if I can help it. Kelly roared, fighting against the darkness, a primal scream forming in her throat as she reached for Lily, their fingers almost touching. But just as their hands nearly clutched, the ground beneath her crumbled away. The screams of the damned filled the air, drowning out hope, as everything began to fall apart around her. Hold on, Lily. But how could she hold on when everything she had fought for threatened to slip away? In that moment, amid the chaos of shadows and desperate cries, a spark of thought ignited. What price was she willing to pay to face this nightmare? Was she ready to confront the horror buried deep within, or would it consume them both? With that chilling question hanging in the air, confusion and panic swirled around them, like a storm waiting to burst. What dark bargain loomed just out of reach? The past was catching up. Would they finally confront it, or be forever lost to it? Kelly raced through the twisted trees, the shadows clawing at her heels with a hunger that left her breathless. Panic surged through her veins as she heard the hollow laughter echoing behind her, the sound a cruel reminder of the darkness chasing them. Don't look back, she yelled at Lily, the urgency sharp in her voice. The shadows had taken more than just form, they were manifestations of a despair she'd never quite faced. Suddenly, a mass of darkness lunged from the trees, and she barely swerved aside, grasping Lily's small hand as they dove into the underbrush. Stay close, stay quiet, she whispered fiercely, trying to calm her racing heart. They crouched low, the damp ground beneath them chilling as both mother and daughter listened intently to the chaos unfolding. They can't see us, Kelly murmured, but doubt gnawed at her. The shadows stirred, whispering her name in distorted tones. Ghostly echoes mingled with the crashing waves that had once brought solace. But Kelly knew there was no solace for them here. We need to get to the car, she said, her voice a fierce whisper almost lost in the rustling leaves. If we can just make it. Lily tugged at her arm, fear glistening in her wide eyes. Mommy, what if they find us? Then we fight. The conviction in Kelly rose, fierce as the tide that had tried to drown them. They had faced the darkness together once, and they'd do it again. She glanced back one last time, feeling the weight of those ethereal eyes behind her eyes that were familiar yet haunting. We can't let them take us back. They hastened through the trees, pushing past limbs and vines that seemed to writhe, as if alive and eager to ensnare the duo. Each step resonated like a drumbeat, a reminder of the earlier confrontation and the spectral whispers that had preyed upon their fears. Kelly could almost hear the taunts. You can't escape the past. But new resolve surged through her as she thought of all they had endured. She pulled Lily closer, her heart a steady drum echoing courage. We're strong. We won't let them win. The night draped around them like a heavy shroud. But they pressed on until a glimmer of light broke through the trees, a beacon of hope resembling their salvation. The parking lot lay just ahead, silhouetted against the looming darkness, but shadows danced along the edges like hungry predators as they neared the car. Dread pulsed, thick and suffocating. Kelly's chest tightened. Lily, get in. Lock the doors, she shouted, shoving her daughter toward the car. She fumbled the keys and cursed under her breath, time slipping away as the shadows converged. Their laughter rose with the gales, growing ever closer. With a swift motion, the keys freed themselves from her trembling grip, falling into her palm like an anchor of sanity. Just hold on. She dove into the driver's seat, slamming the door shut behind her, half-turned to see the swirling shadows close in. Mommy, I'm starting the car. She turned the ignition, heart racing as the engine sputtered. The laughter grew menacingly sharp, like a knife drawn from the dark. Come on. Finally, it roared to life. Uh-huh, she cried, spinning the steering wheel, and the headlights pierced the darkness, revealing a dozen ghastly faces creeping closer. With a burst of adrenaline, she slammed her foot on the gas, tires spinning and screeching against the gravel. Darkness erupted in her rearview mirror, fading as she pulled away. They drove, leaving behind the shadows, yet the laughter echoed persistently, lurking in her mind. We did it, we escaped, Lily panted, her body shaking. For now, Kelly breathed, glancing at her daughter as their home came into view, the faint outline of safety drawing them in. It was an illusion, a thin layer of protection wrapped around their lives, like a thin strand preventing total darkness. But even in the light, a creeping dread settled deep in her chest. The truth was always there, lingering just beneath the surface. Darkness wasn't just an outside force. It lived inside her. Those shadows were echoes of her past, regrets, sorrow, not just her mother's, but her own. If she couldn't confront that, how could she hope to be free? Mom. Lily's little voice broke into her thoughts. Yes, sweetheart. I'm scared. I know. Kelly's voice quivered, the fear twisting like a knife. But she stiffened her resolve. But you know what? Fear means we're alive. And we're together. Together? Lily echoed, a small spark of comfort warming the tension between them. Always. Kelly grasped her daughter's hand, and for the first time, the laughter faded the further they drove. But as they crossed the threshold of their driveway, something glimmered, a spectral silhouette standing at the edge of the tree line. Kelly's heart stilled. She twisted around to see one last fleeting glimpse of her mother's face. Not a specter, but a reminder of pain and love entwined. Mom, look. Lily pointed again, but Kelly blinked, and the figure was gone. Let it go, she whispered under her breath, steeling herself against the myriad thoughts crashing like waves in her mind. Can we be okay? The innocent question hit her with the weight of the world. We will. We'll heal together. And even if the shadows would always linger, they had survived this dance with darkness. They would face their fears, reach for the light together, and figure out which paths to take moving forward. No matter how long it took, they would reclaim their lives, inch by inch. Kelly understood now. The battle never truly ended, but each day was a victory worth fighting for. Her love for Lily would always be her guiding light through whatever shadows remained. The waves roared behind, crashing fiercely against the shore, but for once, Kelly dared to believe. The sun would rise again. As they walked inside, she whispered, "We are strong, and tomorrow will be a new day." And deep within, a flicker of hope ignited, ready to guide them through the uncharted waters ahead. So, what are you waiting for? You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive story and ensure you never miss a piece of the action. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm and let others join this thrilling adventure. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this. Ending your voice matters. And just share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion because they can't miss out either. Don't wait even one more second. Your support means the world.